Welcome to the Rogers TV All Candidates debate for the riding of Elgin-St. Elgin-St in the 2025 federal election. I'm Patrick Maloney, digital editor at the London Free Press, and I will serve as moderator for this debate. Thank you to the candidates who've joined us, and thank you for watching. We'll start with a 1-minute opening statement from each candidate, beginning with David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Thank you. Voters have a short time to get to know the candidates before Election Day, so opportunities like this debate tonight are important. It's certainly not easy running for public office, and I applaud the other candidates here tonight to help voters understand their options. This is the most important election of our lifetime. With threats of our country and our economy, with Trump tariffs, this election is about showing up. Who's not showing up here tonight or anywhere is Andrew Lawton, and he won't, because his record shows he's not fit to represent us. In my riding of Elgin-St. London South, I'm showing up for farmers, for our auto workers, our retirees, our seniors, families, businesses, and industries. I'm listening, I'm building relationships and alliances. This election is about leadership. And who can best steer us through the crisis? That's Mark Carney. He's got a new vision and the experience to get us through the storm. I look forward to the discussion tonight.
Paul Pagan with the New Democrat Party.
Our nation is facing unprecedented uncertainty, exacerbated by disruptive actions of our conservative southern neighbor, which has infiltrated Canadian climate and caused division. It's imperative that we all unite to ensure that Canadians have access to employment and employment that provides a living wage, so they can pay their bills, buy the groceries they need for their families, and afford to pay for housing. This is why I'm running to be your member of parliament, to be your voice in Ottawa, serving and to serve you effectively. In these crucial times, it's essential that no one is left behind. As a New Democrat, you can be assured that my commitment is to the people, not to billionaires or external influences such as Trump. I'm in it for you.
Stephen R. Campbell with the People's Party of Canada.
So you guys may have recognized me. I'm Stephen Robert Campbell. I was with NODA. That's None of the Above Party, and that was in the Ontario election. I just ran in your region. So they believe in referendums, and I've been running as an independent for years. I've been held at debates. The paper won't show me. You can't see me. And today, I met this fine gentleman off to the side of our stage today. He just met me today. I've carried him around. He's a fellow Fanshawe alum. I'm a Fanshawe alumni, and he's a Fanshawe student, and he's going to get the experience of a lifetime learning politics and getting the young demographic back to voting, because they're not voting, and we need them to vote this time around.
Okay, so for our first question, arguably the most defining issue in the federal election in Canada is a politician elected in another country, but here we are. So my question for you is, what is your opinion of U.S. President Donald Trump? And we will start with David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Well, you know what I'm really focused on is on our leader, Mark Carney. But I will say that this is the most important election of our lifetime because of what's happening with Donald Trump. And so our focus as Canadians really is about protecting our security, our economic security, our industries. You know, in this riding, we have the Magna and the auto workers. We have steel. We have other industries. We have farmers who are concerned about what are they going to do with their food and their supplies. We have other environmental issues. And so this is really about our security. And I think it's a time for Canadians to come together. And so while Trump is always on the news every day and it's impacting our lives, it's about how are we going to come together to unite as a country and get through this storm.
Paul Pagan with the New Democrats.
I agree with you, Pat. This is an election that is unheard of in our time. But I would like to ask, who's going to protect us from the powerful and the wealthy, and who's going to fight for workers? Canadians are worried. We've got years of Trump ahead of us. The roller coaster is stark. And, in contrast to all of this, you can't trust Pierre Poilievre to do this job. He's been endorsed by Elon Musk. he wants to make our healthcare system more like the U.S. But also for the Liberal Party, they've also stated those things that we brought in, like pharmacare, they won't expand. They may not take it away, but they won't expand. This is why we need to vote for the NDP and Elgin-St. We're the ones who forced or pushed Liberals to do the things that were needed for people.
Okay, and Stephen R. Campbell with the People's
When you
Party.
ring the bell, how much time we got? It's over. Oh, you can only go with warning. Okay. I can go now. Okay. So I am Stephen Robert Campbell, and Donald Trump doesn't matter at all. Our carbon taxes are above 25%, hurting our industries. Industries don't want to move to this country. They don't want to invest in you. You have no jobs. You're losing your jobs. And these parties here have party whips. Now, the NDP had a party whip, and when you have a whip, people don't know what a whip is. So this guy, he might want to represent, he might want to do a good thing, but he has a party whip. So his party whip whips him into shape. So he can't vote the way he wants. So he backed those Liberals. So he's got a party whip. He's got a party whip. And this guy that didn't show up for us, he's got a party whip too. And I don't have a party whip. Maxime Bernier, we have distinct policies. They're really nice policies. And I can talk to the people. And if those policies aren't meeting my district, I can represent you.
Okay, for our next question. There are tariffs, counter tariffs, pauses on tariffs, and lots of confusion about where tariffs are going between Canada, the US, and the rest of the world. So my question is, as MP, what would you want Ottawa to do next in Donald Trump's escalating trade war? And we'll start with Paul Piggin of the New Democrats.
Well, I know that for one thing, what we all have to understand is we don't have control over Donald Trump. Nobody has control over Donald Trump. I don't think he has control over himself. We have to understand that we no longer have a reliable trading partner to the south. And we need to start taking our eggs and putting them in different baskets, especially with the EU and other parts of the world. With Elgin-St, also, we're looking at protecting workers, protecting businesses during these tumultuous times. And this is why the NDP is here to serve you, not other entities.
Stephen R. Campbell with the People's Party.
Well, like you just said, Donald Trump is meaningless because your carbon tax is at over 20. I know it's 25%, but it might be more. And Carney wants to actually increase that. That's harming your industries. Your industries aren't going to come here. And Stephen Harper, back in the day, we used to have 51% ownership in those companies. He got rid of that. That was one of his last policies. That's why, like, I think it was General Dynamics. He gave a big $1 billion contract when, what was that? Caterpillar took them over, got rid of all our jobs, and we were the manufacturing hub for those trains. We supplied the U.S. with trains, and now we have no trains. They took our patents. We don't have patents. And that's why you're losing your jobs, because we took away one of those key policies. And you should always have 51% ownership, Canadian ownerships, because Canadians need to be first. Our companies need to be Canadian first, and it's Canada first. These guys are not Canada first.
And David Goodwin with the Liberal Party.
Well, the question, who is going to stand up to Donald Trump and take care of Canada? And it's very clear that that's not Poilievre. When I look at the two leaders between Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney is clearly the right leader at the right time. And you have seen that in this election where he's had to put this campaign on hold multiple times to go back to Ottawa, to put together his council, bring the premiers in, unify the country, and then speak to Trump. And you see a very different direction from President Trump in relating to Mark Carney than in the previous Liberal government. And so when you look at Mark Carney, you know, this is a gentleman who has been head of the Bank of Canada when we were going through our last recession. He was the governor of the Bank of England when they went through Brexit. So he is the right person at the right time to get us through this storm.
Okay, London is in the heart of Canada's auto sector, which may face the greatest threat from Donald Trump's tariffs. I'll note that as many as 10,000 local jobs could be at risk, according to one expert. Many of those are auto jobs. So what would you say to a local auto worker who wonders what you'll do for them and their family. And we'll start with Stephen R. Campbell of the People's Party.
Okay, unfortunately, I'm not going to answer that question today. The advanced polls are opening before I can ever get to the farmers debate. One of the key topics that conservative voters they don't want to come to our party because they're afraid of our party, like I just said 2 seconds ago. They're afraid of that quota system. When we grew up, I had Ayrshire cattle. My dad has that. He's concerned too. So like the quota system, you milk a certain amount of cows and some people overproduce. And that's why we put the quota system in to begin with. And that's we need to protect the farmers. Also, there's a large plant in Michigan. It has so many chickens. They have so much milk. The farmers think if you drop the tariffs, that they would flood the market with cheap product because they're subsidized and we have real prices. They'd flood it, they'd kill our farmers would have no jobs. You couldn't do anything with your life, you'd lose your business, you'd lose your farm. And that's not what our party's about.
David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Well, I will say that for the Liberal Party and for me in this riding, I work in a riding that is heavily automotive. You know, in my riding, we had the Ford plant, and we all experienced what that was like when it closed, and it was devastating for our community. But we still are heavily supported by autos with Magna and auto parts throughout our riding. And so when I look at Carney's plan, it is how do we embrace that? How do we strengthen it? And so he's created the $2 billion Strategic Response Fund, which is to help auto workers that are going to be displaced by their job. He's building an all-in-Canada network for the auto manufacturing component parts. He's maximizing Canada's steel, aluminum, and critical minerals, and then leveraging government funding to prioritize and procure Canadian-built vehicles. So it's a clear plan of taking our auto workers, strengthening that skill within Canada, and ensuring that we protect those jobs.
And Paul Pagan with the New Democrats.
So with the NDP, we're talking about protecting workers during these uncertain times. There isn't much that can be done to stop a tariff. It's coming from another country. It's not in our hands, it's in somebody else's. So in the meantime, we have to figure out how are we going to protect the workers until this is done and over with. And so right now, if tariffs are coming in and it's uncomfortable in the United States, workers are leaving the United States. They're coming here, they're highly skilled. We could bring them in, use them to refurbish and make our own cars, electrify the cars, and also at the same time, if we are not able to stop with tariffs, then we help workers with better EI and better access to training for new jobs, etc.
Okay, our next question. Consumer carbon pricing has been cut, and that's a move that was supported by all three major parties in their platforms in this election. But what do you say to a voter who feels that environmental issues are being ignored on the campaign trail? And we'll start with David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Well, you know, Mark Carney certainly listened to Canadians. So on his first day, he canceled the carbon tax for consumers. He also canceled the carbon tax on farmers for fuels, and believes that there's a different way on climate. And what I will say is, even though we have canceled those two programs, there still is the industrial carbon tax, which is about for large polluters, large corporations that pollute the environment, and have a carbon tax on those. So I think for Mark and that government is, how do we do things better, smarter for the environment, to still making sure that we have clean air, clean water, clean natural resources. And I think he's the right man for the plank.
Paul Pagan with the New Democrats.
So we know that the carbon tax was something we didn't like, even within the NDP. We've always stated from the very beginning that the GST, or sorry, the tax should have been taken off of things like home heating, anything that was essential to people. And that includes now maybe bringing them off cars that are made here in Canada, things that will help promote sales, but at the same time, remove the tax that is a burden on those essential goods that we have.
and Stephen R. Campbell with the People's Party.
Whoa, carbon taxes, that is awesome. I'm losing $4,000 a year since the Liberals took government into the carbon tax. And you just saw them drop the price of the carbon tax. You can now see how much money they have stolen from you. Now you can see. Now they've been burying you and you have your head above water now, and it's great. So now they're gonna move that after this election over to the industrial. So they're gonna hurt those industries. The industries are gonna come. You are gonna lose your job. You're gonna lose your house. 300,000 people are living on the streets that are Canadian citizens, living on tents, and we kick them out when they're not in the neighborhood we want them to be in, because we don't care about Canadians, because it is not Canadians first. We want to help those homeless people as well. And that's why we have a Manitorium today. And this guy is how I met him today, and he's here with me.
The union and electric vehicle maker Cami wants Ottawa to buy BrightDrop EV vans for Canada Post. They're, of course, made at the Ingersoll factory. Do you believe Ottawa should spend even more than it's already spent to support the EV sector? And we'll start with Paul Piggin of the New Democrats.
Anything that we can do to promote jobs, anything we can do to promote the environment and make it cleaner is absolutely a necessity. It's never a waste of money to actually put money into those things. So in the eyes of the NDP and myself as general, yes, absolutely. Electrify, electrify, electrify.
Okay, Stephen R. Campbell of the People's Party.
What was the question again?
Do you think that Ottawa should spend even more supporting the electric vehicle sector than it already does, specifically relating to the BrightDrop vans?
St. Thomas is the only plant you should support. VW has a good product, but we should switch it over to diesel. Why am I saying diesel? Diesel is bad. No, it's not. My friend at none of the above, my other party in Ontario, is Greg Vesna. In 1984, he made a Chevy Impala run on ammonia. Ammonia run through an engine is CO2 free. And then he did it in a diesel truck. I got a diesel truck today. This guy's been riding around all day in my diesel truck. V6, fuel sipping economy. And the, the ammonia is actually better, cheaper, money, and you don't have to spend a dime that these guys tell you about. So $4,000 a year, I could have been investing that money over the last 4 years. I could have had $80,000 in my bank account. Instead, I didn't have that $4,000 per year. And I can teach you on investments, and you can make that money. You don't got to beg these guys anymore.
And David Goodwin with the Liberals.
Right. Well, governments lead. And so the Canadian government, absolutely, I support them in terms of ministry vehicles, any ministry vehicles, moving to a cleaner environmental system as batteries. But you see this across Canada. You see this in the TTC in Toronto. You see it in London, where buses are going to batteries. And that is where we're going into the future. Getting away from oil, getting away from diesel, and getting to clean energy, and governments lead in that. And so St. Thomas has been very lucky to get the Volkswagen plant. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to bring 4,000 jobs to this riding. And it's just, again, about embracing the green movement. And government vehicles with battery is just another extension to that.
Okay, citizens here and across the country are facing increasing cost of living pressures. In some cases, it's becoming untenable. So please tell us one pressure in your life that you can share with us, and that will tell voters that you understand the pain that they're facing. And we will start with Stephen R. Campbell with the People's Party.
What was the specific question?
Well, tell us the financial pressure that you're facing that can help voters understand that you feel the same pain they do.
Well, like I just said, they've been stealing money from us, $4,000 a year, and I could have invested that, and I could have $80,000 right now. My other investment capital, I had $10,000 in it, and I grew that to $40,000 in about 6 years. So if I had that money over the 8 years of the Liberals, plus the industrial back, because that's on your food, your other thing, all those other things. It's hidden, so I don't know the exact costs on that, but we lost at least, I'm losing $4,000 per year because I used to put $4,000 per year in investments. So I know that's the figure that I'm personally losing. And I haven't invested in my future. I could have bought cars. I could have bought Let's say a four-wheeler is $4,000. You could be out four-wheeling with a Yamaha 110 four-wheeler from Holly Golly. You and your family could be enjoying your life, but you can't. You're depressed at home. 3 of my friends committed suicide last year.
Okay, David Goodwin with the Liberal Party.
Well, I think we all have a challenge in our lives. I mean, I grew up with a single mother and 5 kids, and it was difficult times. I went to university and really struggled to pay my OSAP or my tuition, and those were really difficult times. But I think the one that impacted me the most is in my corporate career. About 10 years in, I got downsized, and I remember that day vividly. And that was a really difficult day because when you lose your job, there's a comfort in that job, and now it goes away. And it's like, where am I going to get a job next? Who's going to hire me? Will it be different? It's massive change. And that was an experience that I carry with me throughout my life since. And when you're running for an MP, it's about understanding people. It's about being compassionate. And that experience has taught me so much about life. And I hope to use that as your member of parliament.
And Paul Piggin with the New Democrats.
Well, it's definitely something I can say. I currently live as someone who's HIV positive and who relies on the government for HIV meds that keep me alive. During the pandemic, the Ford government went after people with disabilities, limiting our amounts of income that we were allowed to make and forcing us out of our jobs, which I had to leave a good paying job to go back on ODSP in order to survive or stay alive with medication. Now I'm legislated into poverty. I've been legislated like this over and over again since I ran, the last time in 2007 provincially. And so now I'm here again. And only this time, the Liberals prior didn't protect us. The Conservatives came in and immediately cut. This isn't how you save money. Now he's not just giving me a drug card, they're paying me money to pay my rent, etc. That's not saving money.
On national defense, the Liberals, Conservatives, New Democrats, and Bloc Québécois all pledged to increase defense spending to 2% of Canada's GDP if they form the government. Is that enough, or do you think Canada should spend even more? And we'll start with David Goodwin of the Liberals.
Well, I think it's a start. I think you got to make your commitment to NATO, and you got to make your commitment to our troops. I have 2 nieces that are in the military, and when I talk to them, this is an important issue. It's about Canadians supporting them. It's about supporting our veterans as well. And so I think Mark Carney has said that he is strongly committed to meeting that 2% and our commitment to NATO. But Canadians are going to have to realize that we have to invest in that military, and that's going to cost money. And there's a wide range of procurement things that have to be bought, but that is our commitment. If we're going to ask our Canadians to join the military and fight for this country, then we need to make sure we take care of them. And Mark Carney is committed to that.
Paul Piggin with the New Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, with the rising tide of hate and anger and untrust from so many countries, Canada has no choice but to invest in its military. And we owe it to the military, to the people fighting for us, to have that stuff available to keep them safe and protect them. The other part of that is that we need to spend money up in the Arctic to protect the Arctic from invasion of other parts of the world. We as well need to look after our veterans. It's something that I closely worked with so many when I worked for Irene Matheson and Lindsay Matheson in London Fanshawe. And it was absolutely brilliant and amazing to be able to work with them, but we need to make sure that they are looked after when they come home as well.
We'll go to Stephen R. Campbell of the People's Party.
Well, once upon a time, the West Elgin it has a gun range in its basement. Glencoe, Ontario has a gun range in its basement of the high schools. Blenheim has a gun range in the basement of their schools. So the kids were well trained, they were responsible, they brought their guns to school, they trained. Recently during COVID, I didn't have my gun license. I went and got mine. I was against handguns. After taking the course, I learned that handguns aren't the problem. If you have a handgun, you only can have your handgun from your house to the range. When you see those home invasions where they're beating and taking people, and the people of Toronto have the embunkments to keep their cars in now, and then they take the key fobs and leave and steal your cars, and we can't even maintain our own presence. Violent crime in Toronto is up 150%. If you think of Crenshaw, the worst people in LA, Toronto is 40% worse than them. We penalize our law-abiding citizens like myself and you in Elgin.
Even as the market swings slightly in favor of renters and buyers across the London region, housing costs are still a huge issue for many citizens in your riding and in all the local ridings across the London region. So what would you do, and what would your party do to help more people find affordable housing? And we'll start with Paul Piggin of the New Democrats.
So Canadians have recently navigated a prolonged period of high interest rates, only to face new risks with the imposition of tariffs by Trump, by the Trump administration. In these challenging times, it's imperative that the government be committed to investing in people. And take divisive action actually against and shield Canadians from rising costs, the rising cost of living. New Democrats are resolute in their mission to enhance financial security by implementing targeted tax cuts for those most in need. We propose eliminating GST on essential items like groceries, home heating, cell phone bills, etc. And additionally, we introduce price caps on essential groceries. We as well must force the Liberals to implement a national dental. We forced them to do the dental care and pharmacare plan, which also brought down the costs for people. Housing has been a problem. If we're not going to build, we can't.
We'll go now to Stephen R. Campbell of the People's Party.
So my leader, I've been having trouble getting in the papers. No one will see me. No one will look at me. So I'm a leader of my party, flew into London, Ontario today. Outside of the immigration building, we did a 30-minute speech on moratorium. We're going to stop all immigration. We're going to help the 300,000 people in tents on our streets. London is that think of all the buildings here is to the ground, and think of this whole entire city as tents. That's how many people, Canadian citizens, are living in tents, homeless shelters. So we have to stop it until we can get our housing market under control. We have immigrants and it's not their problem. Don't blame the immigrants. The immigrants are in hotels. They get luxury hotels where our Canadian citizens are in the ground, dying on the streets, freezing to death in tents. So we need a full stop, and we need to fix all of this till we get housing back. I used to buy condos here for $75,000. Then I would flip them for $100,000. They cost $375,000 today, and the condo fee is 10 times the price.
And we'll go now to David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Okay. Well, when I go door to door, housing is one of the most important issues of people in my riding, but people across the country. And it's not just housing in terms of buying new houses, it's housing in terms of apartments. And so I hope I can fit this in a minute. But Mark Carney has a plan for housing. And when I grew up, in St. Thomas, I would see the war houses. And people would say, after World War II, when they came back from the war, the government built homes for veterans, made them affordable. And we haven't had that since the 1960s. So Mark Carney has a commitment to build 500 houses, 500,000 homes, which will be small homes for families that will be safe, reliable, warm, and equally affordable. The other one is we haven't built a lot of apartments in Ontario and throughout Canada. And one of the reasons for that is we lost that tax incentive back in the 70s. Mark Carney is going to reintroduce that tax incentive for builders and developers, so they will once again build apartments and get that supply on the market. So people can live in a decent house, a decent apartment at a decent cost.
Okay. What is your opinion of the Liberal government's cap on international students coming to Canada? And what would be your approach to immigration if you were elected MP? We will start with Stephen R. Campbell of the People's Party.
Moratorium until we can get people back inside of homes and the Canadians that are living off the streets. So we're full stop fixing the problems that we have today. I can't really think right now, so I guess yeah, I can't think of the issue. I have it, but yeah. So back to your carbon taxes. You have no money in your pocket to afford anything. You can't build anything. So if they eliminate the carbon taxes, you would have at least $4,000 per year. And if you saved over 4 years, you'd have 16,000. You might have a down payment on a home while we have the moratorium in place. And then we open up back at a later date and time. We open it back once we get these people off the streets.
Going now to David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Well, I think the cap and taking the pause on bringing international students in was the right thing to do. We got to make sure that if we bring foreign students in, that we make sure that it doesn't impact the residents that live here in terms of housing, in terms of hospitals, in terms of schools. I know a lot of the colleges have certainly suffered because of they've had a reducement in enrollment. But the priority for Mark Carney and the Liberal government is first taking care of Canadians and having a balance that making sure we bring in the right amount of foreign students without impacting others in our community.
And Paul Piggin with the New Democrats.
So Canada's growth and prosperity depend on immigration. The challenges that we face, the challenges that we're all facing, have nothing to do with immigrants to Canada, but rather the Liberal government's failure to address immigration backlogs and the inability to prevent the exploitation of temporary foreign workers. The Liberal government also lost sight of the balance of the number of incoming immigrants and the capacity to both Canadians and newcomers. New Democrats advocate for a fair and compassionate immigration system that strengthens Canada's economy. We'll address the immigration backlog to reunite families and implement the following measures: improve foreign credentials and recognition, making it easier for qualified immigrants to work in key areas, end reliance on temporary foreign workers, and implement a broad and inclusive regularization program.
Earlier this week, former Prime Minister Stephen Harper spoke at a Conservative rally in Alberta, and he said his government, quote, left the country richer, stronger, and safer than it, unquote, than it is now. For better or worse, can you name one way Canada has changed under the decade-long leadership of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau? And we'll start with David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Well, you know, it's easy for Stephen Harper to say that, but he didn't have to live through a global pandemic and COVID. And so that fundamentally changed Canadian lives. Never in our life have we ever had to experience something as dramatic and painful and scary as that. And so when I look at that, I'm very proud of the Liberal response to COVID and how they weathered us through that storm. There wasn't a playbook for COVID that you could go to as a leader of this country. And it was fast, it was rapid, people were dying. And I think that fundamentally changed us as Canadians. And when I look at our government's response, I'm very proud of that. And I think Mr. Harper is playing politics in politics.
Okay, Paul Piggin with the New Democrats.
Well, I do have to say that we did what we needed to do during COVID. We did have a playbook. That's the thing. We do have a playbook for pandemics. And we did this basically through HIV and AIDS. And we've forgotten how and what to do and where to go and the things that we need to do based on greed. But the Liberals also failed to communicate. That was the big problem. So the reality is that if you're a government and you can't communicate to the people what is going on and tell the truth about what they are doing and fight and say no to the craziness that happened during that, then we have a problem. I'm one who experienced that. I'm somebody still surviving a pandemic and had to go through another one. Well, Rob Ford or Doug Ford booted me off the system. So the reality is we have a way out. We did do the right thing.
Mark Campbell with the People's Party.
Yeah, so Stephen Harper never balanced the budget in his life. There is one statistic that he said they balanced it but 2 million or whatever it was at the time. But it actually was not true. After the Auditor General went through the books, they did not balance the budget. You actually see those charts very often. He never balanced the budget ever. The Liberals are the worst government in the history of our government. They doubled our debt that we had prior. So every single prime minister we've ever had today, this is prime ministers today, and that's our deficit that they caused. So actually, Maxime Bernier has a balanced budget if you go to our platform. So if you go to the People's Party platform, it's very detailed. And any issue that I may have glossed over because we don't have enough time to actually dive into these issues, we have everything detailed down to the T. You can find out about me. I'm on there. It links to my websites. It links to our platforms.
The Globe and Mail, CTV, and Nanos published an opinion poll that's 2 days old as of this recording. And please allow me while I walk through the numbers. It had Liberal Party at 42.7% support, Conservatives 38.1%, New Democrats 8.1%, the Bloc Québécois at 6.6%, Green Party 2.8%, and the People's Party 1.4%. So my question is, what would your party do to attract more voters before the April 28th election? And we will start with Stephen R. Campbell of the People's Party.
Well, we're attracting tons and tons of voters. So my main demographic at this time is 0 to 35. Recently, a RCMP report, a person leaked it. If you are under 35 today at this time, it is predicted that you will never own a home in your lifetime. So if you want a party that will balance a budget and that gives your carbon tax and gives you your money back, $4,000 per year. And if you invest that properly, you'll have $80,000 in 6 to 8 years. And if that industrial is even higher than 4,000 and you're actually 6,000, you can make $120,000 in about 10 years if you invest properly. And we aren't taught these things. I actually do these things, and I haven't been able to invest ever since the Liberal government took over. I haven't had enough money at it, and I have a very nice job, and I don't have money myself. So I don't know how any of you that makes half the amount I do, and I make a lot, I don't even know how you live. I honestly, God, don't know how you live.
Next, we'll go to David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Well, I was trying to follow that, but can you repeat the question for me again?
Well, I went through the numbers of the polls, of the opinion polls, and Liberals were first at 42.7%, Conservatives at 38.1%, and then third party was the New Democrats, way down at 8.1%. So my question is, what must your party do to attract more voters before the April 28th election?
Well, I think Mark Carney has been attracting the voters. I think that's why he's in the lead, because I say, again, he's the right man at the right time. There's two clear messages. Pierre Poilievre, for the last year and a half, has been telling Canadians that Canada is broken. My Canada isn't broken. It's one of the reasons I decided to run. And for Mark Carney, his message is, how do we unify this country? How do we deal with the U.S. and the tariffs? How do we strengthen jobs and build up wealth for Canadians and for homes and for seniors and everyone else? And I think that is resonating in the polls. And that's why I think you've seen Mark Carney at 44%. And he will keep on that message every day, talking to Canadians about what he will do to benefit their lives and to get us through these dark times.
Okay, and Paul Pagan with the New Democrats.
Well, I mean, in the NEP, we say that polls are good for one thing, and that's for dogs to pee on. The questions are always skewed. They're never straight answer or straight questions. So you never really have a real poll. For me, the only reason the Liberals are up is because the people are afraid that they're going to get a Poilievre government. But you're not. You can vote NDP. You can vote Orange. We have voted Liberal and Conservative time after time after time. And what do you get? The exact same thing. The bottom line stays the same. They just change the math on how they get to that bottom line. It's time that you vote a different way. We need change, and not change of the same.
Okay, let's talk trade for a moment.
Did I get the answer?
You did.
Oh. I had a way.
You went first, Stephen, on that one.
Way better answer now.
Sorry, Maddie, you got your minute. Okay, so we're moving on. Do you foresee Canada forging closer ties with European, Asian, and Latin American trading partners, or would you rather prioritize healing the rift between Canada and the United States? So we will start with David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Well, I think Mark Carney has identified already that well, the U.S. is our biggest trading partner. We now need to work with other countries around the world globally. So he's met with the Australian leaders on some technology for the North. One of his first trips was as Prime Minister was to Europe, and it's about building those partners with other countries around the world and not relying on the U.S. But the other thing Mark talks about that's very important, it's not just about trade globally, it's about trade within Canada. It's about breaking down the barriers between the provinces. And as he speaks, it's instead of having 13 economies, it's having one economy in Canada. And so I think he's taking a pragmatic approach to focus on Canadians. Let's get goods to be able to be sold and moved across Canada and help Canadians. But let's also reach out to partners around the world where we can expand our trade.
Okay, and we'll go to Paul Piggin with the New Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, we've said the same. We agree that the eggs that we've done, we put all our eggs in one basket with the United States. It has been fruitful for both sides. It is no longer that way. We cannot trust our neighbors to the south. They are erratic, and we have to live somehow. So we must diversify our trade. Europe is a great bet. Australia, South America. These are places that we need to look at, but also interprovincial trade barriers need to come down. It's difficult though, very difficult. So it's not as easy as everyone would like it to be. We just can't go and rip it up. Quebec is not going to allow a car with a certain thing in it that we are going to allow in Ontario. And those are the problems that we all face. They have to be made differently for different provinces. The regulations are there for a specific reason. So yes, it's going to take some time.
Stephen R. Campbell with the People's Party.
What was the question?
Would you rather move toward closer trading ties with Asian, Latin American, and European countries, or would you prioritize healing the rift between Canada and the U.S.?
Nope, not at all. So we want to heal the relationship with the U.S. Donald Trump wants a 25% tax because he doesn't want to apply income tax on his people anymore. So 25% is the key number that you should only tax the people. You are currently taxed at 46% before the Liberals took power. Then they put the carbon tax in. So that's a whole nother level. You're losing 75% of your income and you have no money, and that's why you can't afford anything. And so we want to eliminate the carbon tax totally so that you have your money again so that you can afford to live. And we need to make trading partners everywhere. So they want to go overseas. That's you're putting ships all over, causing global demand, pollution. That's the opposite of environmentalists. If you talk about that, that's totally not environmental. You want to keep your trade partners close. So down to Brazil, down all the islands, we could be applying milk. So we have surplus milk and farmers are throwing it out and we could get it down there. Trade partners.
General Dynamics Land Systems in London wants a federal government contract for 400 light armored vehicles to be built. That deal would be worth $3 billion. If you were elected MP, would you support that? We'll start with Paul Piggin with the New Democrats.
Can you expand on that?
Expand on it.
What's the deal? Is it Canadian deal? Is it to a foreign entity?
I assume that they would be selling at least some of them to a foreign country, but I guess I'm not sure. But the deal is a $3 billion contract that General Dynamics is seeking from Ottawa to build 400 light armored vehicles. We'll start with Paul Piggin of the New Democrats. The question again is, would you support that if you were elected?
Well, it depends on who we're selling to. So if we're going to make a vehicle, it may not have the killing parts within the vehicle, but they can be added in other countries. And so why would we sell to countries that are going to come after us, or the United States, or our trading partners? We have to be very strategic here. We also need to up our ante here in Canada. So of course I would strongly suggest that we put our money into General Dynamics to build for us. That just makes perfect sense.
Okay. Stephen R. Campbell with the People's Party.
Talking about peace here. I don't know why we are talking about this. The last time General Dynamics had a deal, Stephen Harper threw away our Canadian market board, dismantled it, our Canadian jobs, our Canadian farmers, threw them under the bus, your Conservative Party, and then he made a deal with the Saudis. He gave it to the Saudis for that exact deal for $8 billion, and they actually haven't even paid their bill on that. So we threw away our Canadian citizens, our Canadian jobs, our Canadian stable markets, and actually we're dependent on our market. We don't have a Canadian farmers market. We're actually dependent on the US farmers market. So if the US says, and we're not negotiating with them, they could cut us off and then we don't have a market. So then we actually have to talk to Brazil. Brazil is the next, they actually surpassed us. They're actually better than us now. And they've been building grain mills, and they've been getting ships, and they've been delivering, and they've been getting more markets overseas than we have, because we don't have a Canadian wheat board anymore, and we don't control our market. We don't control anything.
David Goodwin of the Liberal Party.
Okay, well, you know, this question came up about would we support the Canadian military in funding it? And so General Dynamics are a strong partner with the Canadian government on military vehicles. So absolutely, I would support that. Mark Carney has talked about we have this auto industry, heavily dependent on the U.S. So why don't we divest that? And one of those things would be taking that skilled workforce and that expertise and working with General Dynamics. And so if you want to build up this military, if you want to fund it, if you want to support it, those are the kind of contracts that we're going to have as the Canadian government for our military.
Okay, I'll note again that all candidates running in this riding were invited to participate in this debate. Thank you to the three who joined us. We'll shift now to the closing statements, which will allow each candidate 1 minute to summarize their pitch to voters. And we will start with Stephen R. Campbell of the People's Party of Canada.
Well, as you can see, every time I stood up for you. If you see my first video online, you'll see the farmer that you stole his land from in Elgin. And you stole more farmers' land, and you're trying to steal another farmer's land right now to build a road. Wilmot Cheese is a major manufacturer of cheese and distributes all over Ontario, a nice product, a farmer's product, and the PC government is stealing that. In Wilmot, they tried to take land. They didn't even know the land they're taking the people of the farmers from, and it happened to be a major manufacturer of cheese. Like, this is how pathetic your government. They don't even know our region. They know nothing about you. They have party whips that tell them what to do, and they can't stand up for you.
Okay, David Goodwin with the Liberal Party.
Thank you. This is the most important election of our lifetime, and I mean that sincerely. And these are very, very serious times. There's a threat to our economic security, to our jobs, to our farmers, to our tourism. And that's one of the reasons I ran. And one of the fundamentals for me that my mom taught me were 3 values. And one value was respect, and respecting the people who you work with and live with, your community. It's about listening, which was one of the greatest strengths that you can have as a person, and helping. And those are the 3 values that I take forward in running as a candidate for the Liberal Party. And those are the 3 values I will embrace as your MP. I look back at this riding, and we've been very fortunate to have local MPs that have worked really hard and represent us. Karen Vecchio, Joe Preston, Gar Newston, Ken Monteith, John Wise. Those are the people that I respect and that I honor. And as your MP, I will work hard to carry that torch and take not a Liberal voice to Ottawa, but a local voice to Ottawa. Thank you.
And Paul Piggin with the New Democrats.
Great. You've heard tonight about some of the major issues facing our country. It's imperative that we have representatives who are present and are engaged. Unfortunately, one of the parties has not participated tonight, and very few of their candidates across the country are participating in debates. In challenging times, we need leaders who are willing to confront the issues, answer your questions, communicate what your government is doing in response. I'm running because I want to advocate for you. We've tried voting Conservative, Liberal, and nothing has changed. My goal is to make your life more affordable, to ensure everyone has a place to live, to build a reliable health, dental, and pharmacare system so that you don't have to spend your hard-earned earnings on trying to survive. As a New Democrat, you can be assured I'm here and I'm doing it for you.
Okay, so
Georgie, come on.
I'd like to just say, I'd like to thank the three candidates for joining us for this debate. Thank you for watching, and we once again encourage you to vote in the April 28th federal election.
Hi, I'm Andrew Lawton, your Conservative candidate here in Elgin-St. Thomas, London South. This is a crucial election. After 10 years of the Liberals, we have runaway government spending, a debt crisis that seems it has no end in sight. We have affordability and cost of living issues that have made even the most basic necessities of life unaffordable for people. And crime has gotten rampant. It's through the roof, and communities that once felt so safe and secure in our riding no longer feel that way to a lot of people and families. I love this country. I believe in Canada so much, and I always have. And that's why I'm confident we can turn things around. But not if we repeat the same mistakes that have allowed the last 10 years to take hold. I'm talking about electing the Liberals. The Liberals have been in power for the last 10 years and now seek a fourth term. The ballot question for you is, do we deserve and do we need a change in this country? That's what I'm going to be delivering if I'm elected as part of a Conservative government led by Pierre Poilievre. I'm a lifelong Londoner, a critical part of this riding, just like St. Thomas and Straffordville and Port Burwell and Rodney and West Lorne and everywhere in between, from Port Stanley to London, from Bayham to West Elgin. All parts of this riding offer something so rich and so significant to this community, to this region, and to the country. And it's my job as your member of parliament, if I'm elected, to bring your concerns to Ottawa. That's exactly what I'm going to do. It's also my job to bring solutions to the issues that face our community. And those I've just mentioned, but there are many more that I've been hearing as I've crisscrossed the riding over the course of this campaign and will continue to do. Some of you know me from my time in radio as a journalist and broadcaster. I've never shied away from asking the tough questions and, more importantly, making sure we understand exactly what we need. So on Election Day, vote Andrew Lawton and the Conservative Party of Canada.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over, called home, you've called a cab or a friend, and planned ahead. Let's keep doing the right thing. Support sober driving by getting yourself and your friends home safely.
Do the right thing.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
This is Rogers TV.
Rogers TV presents Community News. Stay informed with the latest stories and events that matter to you and your neighborhood. Email us with your community news and be part of the conversation. Daily at 5 p.m.
A lot of people don't make the difference between honeybees and wasps and hornets. The main ones that they see is the ones that are there on the patio when they're having breakfast or having a glass of wine, and they're buzzing around their beer. And so those are not honeybees. Most likely 99% of chances or more, they're a wasp. Honeybees, basically, they don't want your steak, they don't want the garbage, they don't want they want a flower. My girlfriend's stepfather has 60 acres out in the country, and all of a sudden he started like getting beehives. And I was watching him from far, and I was like, whoa, what is this? And I just kind of started hoover around him and watch him, you know, do his things. And I decided to get my own. People doing this, that's when you get stung. So you have to be relaxed and manipulate them slowly. They're small, they're easy to squish, so you have to like slow and relax. Breathe in, breathe out. It is a bit scary, like I won't lie, I'm still sometimes, you know, a little bit, you know, there's a lot of them. And I'm sure there's tons of stuff I still have no idea of. You know, how they find like a, you know, beautiful flower patch somewhere. They'll like come back to the hive and dance and show the others where, like the direction. I used to have a hammock there before the squirrel ate it, and I would just sit there and watch, and it is relaxing, although they are working so hard. It's pretty impressive to see them like fly in, out. You try to follow them, like I just want to know kind of like where they're going. It's impossible. I don't know, they're just impressive and they never stop. It's like work, work, work. We're gonna open up. We're gonna look to make sure that the queen's there and that she's laying eggs.
Oh, see those trees in the midsummer's breeze. Yeah, we're happy to save the earth. Look at the bees in the honeycomb bees. Oh, yeah, we don't want to say goodbye. The eagles cruise down the avenue, and when they meet their maker, we don't want the bark turned into paper. Oh, please give a thought to the lilies. Oh, yeah, we're happy to save the earth. Oh, yeah, we're happy to save the earth.
So what's capped here? They're capped larvae. Eventually one might come out actually from this one here, being born. But if you see over here, you see some larvae at different stages, like inside these. That's another thing that's nice around the hive is the smell of honey, and the wood is nice. So what we have here is they've built up all of this wax, and you see like some shiny at the bottom. It's honey, and they're gonna fill them up. If you look on this side here, you'll see that there's a couple of the cells that are capped. They're white. That's because that's finished honey, like that's done. So that's a full frame of honey, like entirely full. So the good thing to do when you're doing this is to try the honey, but because of her suit, you can't put it in your mouth. I often want to eat it because that's actually one of the things that really got me into beekeeping was the first time that I ate a chunk of wax with the honey. Like I didn't think I love honey as much as I did that day. It was pretty amazing. There's a huge difference between this honey than probably your billy bee that is from who knows where. They're so cute.
We have to care to improve our environment, or it will happen soon with the sun and the moon and the CO2. Oh yes, it's anyone's guess. Yeah, we're happy to save the earth. Oh please, give a thought to the rocks and the plants and the trees. Yeah, we're happy to save the earth. Oh please, give a thought to the rocks and the plants and the trees and the bees. Yeah, we're happy to save the earth. Yeah, we're happy to save the earth. Oh yeah, we're happy to save the earth.
Canada is at a crossroads, facing an affordability crisis, strains on healthcare, and climate change.